Hey folks, it's Dane here at JONAH Guitars, and I have just kind of an unusual, well, it's not an unusual request. It turns out to be unusual, and it turns out as usual. I probably didn't ask enough questions, or I didn't ask any questions. Some guy contacted me and said, hey, well actually, let me back this up a little bit. I have a niece who is engaged, and the guy that she's engaged to, brother, needed some work done on a guitar. He happens to live in Mesa, Arizona, or at least that's where the guitar was sent from. The thing is, she texts me and says, my guy's brother needs a tremolo hole cut in his guitar. And I thought, okay, yeah, I can do that. So I text her back. So he contacts me and says, yeah, I need my guitar, I need a tremolo cut in. I think somebody mentioned Fender trem at some point, maybe it was the niece. Turns out that it's a Floyd trem, which I didn't have a template for, which is not a big deal. I don't mind buying a template for something that I will probably use more than once, although in 20 plus years of guitar building, I've never gone there. I think I probably will, now that I have a template. So anyway, yes, having said all that, I'm going to redirect the camera and I'm going to show you what came in for a trem cavity. Hold on. All right, so this box came in the mail, and as you can see, it is, I've already opened it up and had it out. That's why all this stuff is underneath. It's a Les Paul body, card top. It is mahogany and some lighter wood, possibly maple, and then it has a veneer on the top of that. So actually it looks like mahogany, maple, and then mahogany veneer on top of that, which is interesting, because that does look more like mahogany than anything else. It looks nice. It's got some figure to it, whatever it is. All right, let's get that out. I may have already started laying this, well, I did start laying it out once, but I may have already started filming it once, because I got lines on here, and my previous template was botched, and so I had to reorder another template. I also have had difficulty returning the previous one because for some reason they're not cooperating. Well, they said they would send me information in 5 days. I don't think it's been quite 5 days. So, and the directions are for a Fender style guitar, so Fender scale. So they say that a 25.5-inch scale for Stratocasters and clones. Yeah, well, this is a 24 3/4 scale, and so they say to drop it down to 20 from the neck, from the, okay. So they dropped a 1/2 inch off of there for their indexing line, which is right where the screws for the trem go. So I'll be able to just stick this down. Actually, since these holes are going to be drilled for the pivot posts on the trem, I can go ahead and screw this down. I will shim to take care of the radius, or I will just push some shims up under here, and we'll take care of that. It won't be too difficult to do. So it's not a huge deal, except that because there is a flattish spot on top here. I made the gentleman aware that height-wise and neck angle-wise, he's going to have to work some things out before he gets his neck in there, glues it in, to make sure that he has the right neck angle, because it's going to be different than it would be with a standard tom bridge setup. So anyway, it said to basically knock a 1/2 inch off your scale length, so that's what I did. I'm going to double check myself though, because I don't want to make a mistake on this guy's guitar. Have a nice big hole somewhere it doesn't need to be. If you have a 24 3/4 inch scale length, and I don't have his neck, but I do know that Gibson, they call it their short scale, 24 3/4 inch. It's actually like 5/8, but I'm going to go with the 3/4. So if you knock a 1/2 inch off of your overall, you're going to end up with 24 1/4. And I'm going to put my fret scale here at 16 at the edge of the body, because that's typically where your Les Paul neck lines up at, is at 15. And you need to put some pieces of scrap out of under the ruler out here to kind of hold things up. I always have an abundance of crap laying around. Consider myself very fortunate. I am taping this down. You can't see that in the camera, I'm sure. This is fret 16. I should say fret number 16. And so taping it there, taping it here as well. Keep all that together. And then I'm going to go to the 0 fret, which is down here on the other end. And I have to walk around the camera to double check it. My line that I already have drawn on here is 24 1/4. So I'm pretty happy about that. I just worked all that out again in my head in front of you on the camera. And if I said anything wrong, scream loud. I'm going to make my my center line just a tad darker. Tad. That's a little. It's like a fuzz or a skosh. Those of you who are following that, you know who you are. Okay. Now you can still see. There we go. So the two holes line up with the scale length line, 24 1/4 minus a 1/2 inch. Well, 23 3/4, 24 3/4 minus a 1/2 inch. And then I'm lining up my center line, that little axis thing there, and I'm sticking this on here basically long enough to get my holes marked, and I'll drill those. They might be about that size. Is that it? That's perfect. Okay, I'm also going to just outline that while it's sitting here. And I may go ahead and drill some of that out just for fun. I'm going to go ahead and pilot drill these holes for some screws. I'll probably use some pickup mounting ring screws for that. Don't drill that hole because there's nothing back there to hide that. And here we go. And I will say that now that I've gotten a decent template set, I got this from Music Lily, and it was, I think it was 40 something compared to the Stu Mac one that was like 65, and it's identical. I looked at all the lettering, the thickness of the template. So I've got my template fixed on here, or affixed, and I've got a 1/2 inch Forstner bit, and that Forstner bit is going to ride right against this without causing any damage, and just basically line me up here. I'm going to put it in the drill press, and I'm going to line myself up, and I will start it and just score the top of that so I can get right back in. without the template on and do complete the hole. All right, so I've got that hole drilled into this corner, and that will be all the way out the back once I pull the template off. What I'm going to do is run down until I'm going to preset my drill press so I can't go too far. I'm going to run down until the pin is sticking out so that I can locate that and drill from the back and not get a bunch of splinter. Okay, yeah, that was about a 1/4 inch deep. So I'm going to just continue to do this, setting it probably about 1/8 of an inch or to 3/16 of an inch deeper with each pass. Here we go again. You may have noticed that I don't try to pull the router out of here while it's running. I could probably do that, but I don't think the risk is worth it. You know, it's really easy to nick the side of the cavity or the template when you try to pull something out like that. So I'm going to keep dropping it in, and as I get deeper, I'm leaving the template on here because it's obviously I have a radius top. If this was a flat top, I could pull the template off and just follow my existing route as my template. But since this is round on top, I can't do that, a radius on top. So I have to just keep dropping it and leave the template on. Here we go. I'm going to use this masking tape super glue thing here just because it will give me a couple seconds to kind of slide things right to where I want them, and then bam. So here we go. Notice I use that transfer punch set again. Oh, this is not going to come out. There we go. Really would hate to get super glue on my template. Down to there. Well, went right down where I needed it, and I didn't. I think it stayed there. So this is pretty handy to have this stud right here. Okay, so do that. Go ahead and get this out of here now. It is a snug fit. Throw some bench dogs under here to kind of level things out. So that helps. Here we go again. This is a pretty dull bit, I'll have to say, because for that depth of cut I shouldn't have been smoking and all that carrying on. Anyway, this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to keep doing this and keep going deeper and deeper. I'm going to just go punch myself a hole in here. Well, I'll punch it in here just so I have a lower spot, a bigger hole to start in. I don't have to work the thing into it every time. Okay, so I think we left off with just routing this pocket down to the 5/8 dimension. Okay, and we are right there, 5/8 on this depth. You might be able to hear that. Sounds very thin compared to that. There is not, I'm not kidding you, there's a paper's thickness worth of wood there, and that's because they well, I mean, Les Pauls don't typically have Floyd cavities in them anyway, but you've got this wire channel that comes from the switch. Here, they just blew a massive trench out of this thing in order to probably get some weight relief in it, which isn't a bad idea. And then also these pickup cavities, like this back pickup cavity is insanely deep. I mean, 3/4 of an inch in the front is kind of typical. This one's at 1 inch at the height of the radius, and then 7 on the lesser sides. This thing is 1 inch, almost 1.5 inches here in the middle. Then if you go down to the trench, we're talking 1 5/8 deep there. So I mean, they've took a lot of meat out of this body, which, like I said, isn't a bad idea, especially with this particular design. So I'm actually going to flip it around now. I went ahead and made this little plug for routing the rest of the pocket down, so the bearing will follow here, at least, well, it'll follow here, and then it'll follow the shelf it creates past that, so I don't have any issues there. So we'll just continue routing until we get the pocket down to like it's supposed to be. Probably did about 3/16 out here on the edge, or maybe even 1/8, and then 3/16 to 1/4 in the center. All right. So now I do have to just change the bit out to a longer bit. All right. So I'm going to shut you off and then finish doing that and bring you back in after that depth has been reached. Okay, so all I have left to do here is put the posts in, drill the post holes for them. Now, I was thinking this was going to be the issue all the way through here, but not, like I said, not knowing I was receiving a Les Paul before it got here. You know, for this to be floating, it's going to have to be up, well, it will be up in the, you know, up off the deck a little bit to be into the pivots. And so that will raise it. The height on this thing is going to be just about right from what I can tell. So neck angle may not be an issue, but he's going to definitely have to extend the block. As you can see, I think you can see that. The block is below the level here. So this trim block will need to be extended. I don't think that would be a huge issue, because they bolt in. You might have to put a spacer, you know, in between the block and the bottom of the bridge here, 1/2 inch 5/8 spacer in there, and then just re-bolt that on. So that would get you there. Huh. Anyway, I just happen to have this Floyd here. A friend of mine needed some money, and he had purchased this at some point, and I bought it from him. All right, so I think we're there. That was it. So the cavity got all the way through to where there's that 3/16 right there, and the top actually flattens out pretty much right there. So it's pretty consistently 3/16 all the way across. And oh, I did want to show you where my cutter was at by the time it was deep enough to get to that level, being that this body's so thick. Just what we were thinking. Well, 2 5/16 really. Yeah. So that's a thick piece of wood to put a Floyd in. And yeah, so I'll mention to him that he's going to have to fabricate some sort of a 5/8 block. Oh, and he's got a couple spots in this body that have been dented. This wasn't from me. He's got one up here on the back as well, way up in here, and I don't think you can see it in the camera, but it's got a pretty good dent. So I'll steam that out, and I'll steam this out of the front, because if you try to sand that veneer flush, you're just going to sand through. So I'll take care of those couple odd things there. Oh, there's a good one right here too. You can see that little crease right there. Anyway, yeah. So I'll just do that, as a favor. Anyway, that's it. Yeah, so thanks for tagging along. We'll see you next time.